The hip-hop writer is a creator composing understanding words of culture brilliance, powering a rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation, simply the almighty leadership of insightful craft work that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet, his daily duty is as a journalist that questions properly and uses his ears to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it in the print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt executed again and again and again. This is the Power Right Show in S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life, with the home-sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true and living God, stepping in score, Sunya Zala, a.k.a. Skillustrator Low, and we're on S.STREET Media, the evolution of media, where every intrigue will have its own show, every incredible thought will have its own episode, and every timeless insight will be archived. And as I always say, man, this is about my element of hip-hop, what I like to call the writer of art on art and science on music. And you know, this whole point of the hip-hop writer being an element is that every aspect of what a hip-hop writer, journalist, historian, creative element entails, I'm taking part in all those things. And unwillingly, we all enjoy it. You get a better idea of all of these great artists that I get to build with and get deeper science on music from them. And also give you some of the best journalism that you've ever heard willingly. Yo, we got books out. I got books forthcoming, though. The book's out right out now is The Crucial Piece, The Filtered Real, Essays from the Invisible Renaissance. You know what I mean? Filtered Real, Essays from the Invisible Renaissance is literally just that. You know, it's essays that I culled over, selected, hand-selected, over the 10 years from really 2010 through 2019 to really give a detail of this era that I've called the Invisible Renaissance, you know what I'm saying? Where the amount of quality work reached high levels, you know, respectably on the same levels as the 90s. I didn't say surpass, but on many levels could match up, respectfully hang around, but with a quantity that we've never heard before. A quantity that we've never been overloaded with before, you know? And all of it is veiled by the deterioration of rap in the mainstream. You know what I mean? See, when you say it like that, then you could really see how deteriorated rap in the mainstream is. It sounds terrible. It sounds fucking horrible. You know, and jingles, stuff that we thought were jingles and ringtone songs that were laughed at or, you know, dismissed in the 2000s, the dark ages, developed these complete long players of doom, of hellish doom that we hear today. You know what I mean? Horrible works. You know what I mean? You know, I saw a lot of television this weekend, and I was inundated with horrible songs. You know, when you watch a program, and then all of a sudden they put some bullshit ass song that goes nothing with the thing. I didn't know bad music keeps infiltrating stuff. I'm in my own world without radio, just my own resources. But yo, what resources could I give you? Well, first we got DJ Toshi's Classic Storm Radio, man, we just celebrated DJ Toshi's 14th year doing it. I've been doing it with him for about 6 years, hosting it and interviewing. So I'm almost on half that journey. Next year or maybe the year after, it'll be technically half that journey. But what a great journey it has been. You know, salute to DJ Toshi. Every guest that he's ever had, every guest I've ever built with. You know what I mean? And all the great music that he's played that put us on, where you just say, you know what, I'm not going to get albums. Just going to listen to what he plays, you know, and great stuff. Yo, what else? The last episode, man, you know, we built lengthy, and I failed. I failed in my mission. I think I failed in my mission, or it never was a mission to go from the start. That last week's episode, you know, the last session's episode 107 with Ralphie Reese was designed to keep him in hip-hop, keep him rhyming. But he still intends to hang it up after this next LP next year. So this interview ends up being a real archive of sorts. You know what I'm saying? Started out as a plea, as a respectful plea that, all creative, greats as himself, ought to keep creating if they feel like it and never just hang it up just because. But that's his call. You know what I mean? And if that's all he would have ever gave us, though, he gave us great music. And we still have one last work forthcoming in the new year. I think it may be in January or February. So peace to the God, Ralphie Reese. You know what I mean? Because his work is a great catalog already. And it's one of the star catalogs in the history of this music that I've had the honor to cover. So check that out. You know what I mean? And harass him on the social media. You know what I mean? If you want him to keep going after this next album. Also, I got my concentrated supremacy program. Get you brothers and sisters into martial arts, introductory levels. You know what I mean? Making it a lifestyle so we could go long term or we could go short term. Something that gets you an awareness of the martial arts and what it really entails without having to spend bucket loads of money. My rates are very strong. And what I give you is way beyond what other people give you. Because you know what? You get stuck in them streets, you got stuff to do. That's something a lot of these schools can't say, though. They got you doing horse stances for 10 months. You know what I mean? They got you doing horse stance for 10 months, though, looking at the mirror and throwing a weak punch, giving you belts, for kicks that look horrible. You know what I mean? That wouldn't hurt a fly. You know what I mean? Give you some real stuff. And I got something else coming up, too, with that. So thanks to my brother, Willie Ways. You know what I mean? We got our own theme song. I got a theme song for the Concentrated Supremacy programs. It's going to be ill. We might play that in one of the next episodes of the Power Right Show. But yo, my guest, let's get my guest on the line. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the dopest, and with these artists that I build with, I always like to give their intro on air. You know what I'm saying? Because I want them to see the angles. I want them to see how the nature by which they're appreciated. How I see their music and how we could go from there. But we're trying to let's see if we have Elo Kush on the line.
Peace.
Peace to the God. Peace, Elo.
Peace, God. Peace, God.
All right.
How you love it?
Indeed. I always say this. I've been doing this on purpose when I get call-in guests. I like to give the intro on the line while you're hearing it. I like to spend a lot of time highlighting the catalog that since the last Elo Kush build we had on the Power Right Show. And I think things have changed, Elo. You'll have to face the fact that you've gotten better. You know what I mean? Some of the details, the command, the use of the voice as an instrument, you know what I'm saying? The continued excellence with the partners in rhyme, whether it be Supreme Cerebral or it be John Robinson, you know what I mean? It's just been stellar work, you know what I mean? And I think that, I'm so glad that I get to have you on the show again, because I think 2021's work, these specifically in my head, 3 specific albums that you released, really put it down as far as your mantra, as far as your charismatic stylings, and as far as the nature of how you make music. Each of those albums, and we'll go through them as we go along. But for the listeners, Elo Kush is one of the real highlights and one of the rising stars in this era that I call the Invisible Renaissance. You know what I mean? This year, I've been very particular about all of the artists that I've had on the air. I've tried to get not just great artists, because I think I've always gotten great artists, but try to get artists that are a little bit more revolutionary in these times. You know what I'm saying? A little bit more questioning of mandates, questioning of things that we're told to do, seeing the future as far as how things go, as far as the law, as far as the precedents that we allow to go by. And Elo Kush, you definitely fit that bill. And with the way people are so scared to talk about shit, I just want to applaud you for making music that is daring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always tell your partner, Supreme Cerebral, that he's one of the few MCs I enjoy listening to because I have to lower it around people. It's too offensive. It's too harsh. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
and I love that because there's the innovation of the daring. You know what I'm saying? And when you come on, it has that same daring effect, but in the ethos, in the principles. You know what I mean? In the nature by which you engage. You know what I mean? And it's something that people used to do as a gimmick throughout the 90s. That's what we learned. You know what I'm saying? That's what we learned. A lot of the people, that's what I learned personally. A lot of the people were just doing that as a gimmick in the 90s. They didn't really feel it this way. They'd be revolutionary only if they were rich. And if it didn't work out that way, they would never be one of the sufferers. You know what I mean? For the people, you know? And long-winded, but I felt it had to be said. So thank you, Elo Kush, before I even continue, you know, because these are great records.
Thank you, bro. Salutations, man. That intro right there, that should be on the Grammy speech right there. I love it.
Indeed. You know what I mean? You know, let's start out with the tandem. You know what I mean? I want to go by the order that you released them. And then, you know, it really ends up being that the order by which you release them is also, to me, I felt, the order of the Elo Kush intensity. And Clark Connoisseurs too, I was excited about this project because there's a different way that you guys choose beats, man. You know, Supreme Cerebral, the work that he's done this year is just as I see yourself as MC of the Year candidates. You know what I mean? And before I continue, you know, Remembered Imperfection to Supreme Cerebral's father. To father such a great man and a great visionary in art, music, and integrity says enough in itself. You know what I mean? And pulling for the God in these rough times, because I understand how that feels. You know what I mean? But
so do I. Into that chamber as well.
Indeed. And you know, you work so good with John Robinson, and I've always seen that you and John Robinson are very similar in your voice patterns and in the type of airiness that your voice has. You know what I mean? Yours has kind of an airiness with a little bit more hoarseness in it. You know what I mean? Whereas when you match up with Supreme Cerebral, what makes the record so fun is that you guys are complete contrasting forces, the way you guys rhyme. You know what I mean? Supreme's kind of stabs right through. You know what I mean? And it's a very aggressive, gravelly type, you know, but it's very sharp. You know, it's very sharp. Whereas yours, that, like I said, that airy voice, though, it really contrasts and it makes these songs so good. And throughout the album, it's like there's more synergy because there's a lot of records where we could say this is Elo Kush's wheelhouse. And then we get to see Supreme Cerebral be smooth about the ladies, you know what I mean? And then there are others where like Supreme Cerebral's just taking 2x4s on people's heads, and then you come in hard too, you know what I mean? And it's just one of the most fun records. And I felt also, as a side note, because I want to get your ideas about the differences between doing the first one and the second one. But you know, shout out to Clipto, who really dominated the production with some incredible samples, man.
Young Jedi.
A lot of people not really digging the right way. You know what I mean? Finding boring digs and you know, like you should know they use that. You know what I mean? And Clipto's finding stuff that I you know, and like I told you, finding stuff that I always wished would be used. You know what I mean? And some of my personal favorites. You know, like Todd Snyder clocks. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I love that original. You know what I'm saying? So that song was classic to me. But tell me about the difference. Like, was there a mentality and change? Clark Connoisseurs too. Were there any different perspectives you had, like add-ons, or you said, look, we could do this better? What would we do different? Or was the recording different itself just because of the whole pandemic and all that?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the platform, man. I mean, you know, you're a true journalist, true music journalist, and you do. And necessary, you know, there's always a grim bill when I get on with So thank you for your platform, first of all. Um, so yeah, it was definitely a different aspect to it because Clark Dinosaurs One was created together. We were back and forth whether I was going to California or if he was coming back to Jersey. Um, so it was like more of a cohesive one, and we recorded most of Clark Dinosaurs two together as well too. But then the pandemic hit, whatever you want to say, but that took over, and the creative process wasn't because our chemistry is so great outside of music. It wasn't like you were supposed to do this. It was like, all right, I'm not coming out there, but I got this idea. Boom, shoot me some shit back. So like I would say 40% of the album was recorded over the pandemic. The rest was recorded face to face. So it was just like ideas. So we didn't stop at actually like Clark Dinosaurs One. Because it was like we had songs left over or ideas that were still on the table. And we just read them, and Crypto gave such a great vibe to the situation. It was like, Plain was like, look,
right.
This way over this way, I'm gonna make a Ubi over this way. So it was just like, mind detect mind on it. We just go on there.
Elo, is there a way maybe you could move your place, where you're at or something like that? Because you sound a little choppy on the phone.
Choppy?
Yeah, okay, you're a little choppy.
Hold on one second. I thought I felt like that. Hold on one second. Let's see. How about now? How I'm sounding?
Better, definitely. Yeah. Please continue.
Okay. So that's where we were at with the aspect of just the creative aspect of it. It's not hard to create with Supreme because he's an alien. Like our styles definitely are they complement each other, but they're totally different. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Let's go through some of these songs here. You know what I mean? Just going down the line. The song title's dope. Everything is so clever and stuff, and built around the fashion, but there's a lot of depth to it. You know what I mean? So it's almost like a cloak to the depth that the album has. You know what I mean? Not just as a battle bar record, but also as a way of declaring your ideas. Yoshi hand painted, where you go, there's great lines in there like $1 million scripts and $3 notepads. But also, I wanted you to speak on some of these lines because they were very profound when I think about them more and more. You said, soon as I see Satan, I discharge my weapon. Rhyming is a therapy, further my progression. PTSD, I need a pro therapy session. Spoke to my therapist. She said I was eclectic. We dated 2 times. Now she acting all eccentric. In my wallabies that I had dipped in cinnamon, 100 missed calls. Of course, I ain't interested. You ended in this really dope tangent, but these deeper ideas about PTSD. You know what I'm saying? And just the black man in this country. You know what I'm saying? And that reality of oppression, of the hell's gone through. Speak about that concept when you use words like that. You know what I mean?
Well, we have, a lot of where we come from and you come from, and the original what man comes from, in these tenements, these ghettos, man, we do have PTSD. I can speak for myself personally. It's not normal to see, things we see, but we normalize it. Like, so seeing someone shot, seeing the trauma of someone getting addicted, or seeing someone jump, or being the target of some type of a hunt. You're the hunted out here, and after a while, it's like, bro, I'm off square. This is real. What's normal? This is normal for me now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that we all have to think about that. Yeah, we do need I think therapy in our neighborhood should be something that.
Part itself, God. You're a little choppy. You're a little choppy again. You know what? Should we? Maybe we should call you back real quick. Let's call you back real quick. Just see if we get a better connection. All right. That way we could get a better connection on all these jewels that are being dropped on us about this song. All right, but Elo Kush though, talking about Clark connoisseurs, you know what I mean? And Elo Kush ELOKUSH.com is the website, and all these albums, including the Clark connoisseurs, can be heard there.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless.
All right, let's see if we get them again. But all these albums can be heard, ELOKUSH.com. They're also on I know the Clark Connoisseurs is on Bandcamp as well. You know what I mean? Another great album. But throughout these works, you know, one of the things that throughout these works is this idea, and this is what we'll cover with Elo, is the way that a lot of his records are, they shift. They shift from stream of conscious ideas in really clever aphorisms, I could say aphoristic type of lyricism, to also detailing just the battle bar raps and the ethos and the nature of the revolutionary stances he takes. You know what I mean? And it's just an ill combination. You know what I mean? And on Clark Connoisseurs too, I think that the real focus ends up being the sampling. Do we have Elo Kush on the line? Peace.
Please leave your message for.
All right, let's try again. We might have lost him. That's why the connection wasn't so good. But let's keep talking about Elo Kush's record. One of the best records, Clark Connoisseurs, right? So many of the songs though are based on soul samples, and a lot of records today can really fail on soul samples. You know what I mean? We always think we like the soul, but a lot of guys aren't really crate digging correctly. You know what I mean? They're finding works that aren't really out, that have been played out for a long time. And I always question producers of this era, of every era. I saw this a lot in the 2000s, but it's, you know, I think a producer, unlike, let's say, an MC, a producer, unlike an MC, really has to be digging. But aside from digging, they also need to be listening. So like when you hear an MC and he says, I don't really listen to anything out there, that isn't really acceptable for a producer. I think they have to keep their ear into the ciphers, not necessarily to see what to take or anything like that, but also to see what's been used, what to flip differently if it does get used. You know what I mean? Because you're all mining previous material. Unlike an MC, where he doesn't really have to mine previous material unless he's really inspired by older raps or raps around him. That wouldn't really be the case. You know what I mean? Right, so we're having a little trouble getting Elo back on the line. You know, it stands to say that our connection wasn't really strong enough, and that's why it was choppy. But do we have Elo on the line? No, we don't. Not yet. All right. All right, we'll keep trying as I build about these records. You know what I mean? I think, too, all right, my phone's making funny noises, but we don't necessarily have Elo Kush yet. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know, I really like what Clipto did. I think he found a lot of crates. There's a couple of guys in that lane that are really doing it on the next level, on a really high level. Wavy the God has a new album out, new producer album. That was just exceptional. And Wavy does it differently. He doesn't really need to use a lot of the vocals to get the ore. He more samples the music as opposed to the sound. Do we have Elo Kush?
Yo, peace.
Peace. All peace, though. We hear you. All right?
Okay. Call shuffle before.
Indeed. Yeah. So, you know, tell me more about what you were telling me about this concept of PTSD and the black man and these realities that we come from.
Just the military style of how we are. Those far as we survive in our neighborhoods, in our neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying?
How we get to deal with these horrific things that occur to us, but it becomes normal. So your man gets killed, he gets shot, right? And the therapy there is, damn, son was good, like he was a good person, that was a good brother. Pour some liquor out, and then or smoke something, and that's all the therapy you get there, because it's normal. No one knows how to deal with the tragedy that occurs in these neighborhoods, and we carry that on the daily, whether it's murder, whether it's like carjacking, whether it's just poverty, levels of poverty that we have to climb through, whether it's divorce. It could be something simple. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no therapy for us. That's why I said in that line we need a pro therapy session.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it's a powerful line, and a lot of MCs, like when I talk to them, like just making the music itself is a powerful therapy in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
One of the things that I love that you do is you have this way of, I don't really know where you're going to go. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to be, there's always this stitch that underlines all the raps of the ethos of a revolutionary. But you'll have stuff where you'll say, your man spilled spirits on my Tom Snyder's. Bugsy slapped him in the snot box and yelled, back the fuck up. Ox smiling. I started swaying to the DJ playing soca. Yeah, I'm a righteous soldier. You'll be having lines like this, and it's just funny, like vignettes, like a lot of vignettes to go along with like aphorisms that you throw out there and insights and builds. You know what I mean? It's just fun to listen to. You know what I'm saying? The custom moccasins. The God Forever alert. My kinfolk crash landed in Roswell, New Mexico dirt. I'm riding shotgun in the old school through Atlanta with this brown skin Georgia peach. And mind you, I'm not doing it justice with my way of saying it though. But I'm not used to seeing Confederate flags, so I keep my God you now, right? That's this. If you're not looking, right? I'm in reach. I'm just living and loving. Pull out at the right time so there's nothing in the oven. Just clever shit how you go from one idea to the next, you know what I mean? And it just goes so well. And it bugs me out that these songs are really, really short. A lot of these songs are very short. Like when you make songs like with Supreme, it's really like just, we both get one verse each. Is there really talking, or you guys just going with the beat, you know what I'm saying? And just trying to link up I guess maybe I'm thinking here, whoever goes second or whoever rhymes, who hears the other guy's rhyme is just trying to match up, and then it becomes a song very organically.
Mm-hmm. That's part of the process. The other one is creativity. Like it feels like that. Like, so I forgot one of the joints. I did two verses on there, and Supreme did one. Because that's just how I think that was. I forgot the name of that joint. Was talking about like I went to go see Dr. Umar speak. I forgot the name of the title of it. And Supreme went last on it, but that's just the creative vibe of it. Sometimes I feel like we compress so much information and then style it in one verse. At least that's how I feel. I think that's enough for the listener to chew sometimes. But sometimes it does need to be sprinkled a little bit more. But that's the rewind effect on there.
Indeed. One of my favorite songs. It's the sample's beautiful. I think Clipto hit it again. This is a lost art, and it's really based on the sample and how you use it. Has the vocal sample throughout and then extended on the chorus, artisan craft, you know what I mean? I'm singing along to this song. I virtually memorized this song. But you have these really great bars, really a metaphor. I embrace change and adversity. My brain cells are the nursery, incubating the greatest thought known to man. Throw a jab, land a hook because you mistook my kindness for sex. But see, I'm not for test. You know what I mean? It leads to also the way you use metaphor, but also and we'll get to it even more as we go along in these albums. But there's a real deep intimacy, Elo, with the way that you talk about women. You know what I'm saying? You talk about your dominance and getting women, but also in the pitfalls of that dominance as well. So it is certainly is not imbalanced, you know, or, you know, just one-sided.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's facts. I mean, the woman is my natural attraction. That's where the magnetic effect is. You know, that's where we need to be. Why be around? You know, the woman to me is, you know, I strive not to come off as, like you said, like one-sided. You know, but I also like to tell the truth in my experiences. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to sugarcoat anything. So sometimes in one verse, I might gather two or three different experiences, but each one. You know what I'm saying? Like with the one in reference. I just like, you know, how the type of women pockets of my life I was at.
Absolutely. You know, on Aim Leon Dor, right? That was a drumless track, you know, and I had some thoughts about drumless tracks, you know, and I was saying that I don't think there's anything wrong with them. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a good challenge. And I think the opposite is actually true. You know, in covering hip hop, what has always gotten bothersome, it's almost like, I guess you could equate it to rock. You know, what would get bothersome is the main lead. In rock, it would be the guitar. In hip hop, it would be the drums. So musically, the faltering aspect would be the drums, you know, where they would get played out. You know, in rock, people play the same riffs again. In hip hop, you hear the same drum patterns. You know what I'm saying? The same sound, same EQ level, same tempo. And it's certainly not the drumless. It's just that a lot of MCs really can't rhyme. Like, they say they can rhyme, but they really can't rhyme. But on that drumless track, you know what I mean? It's another one where I wrote that it has your thoughts on an intimate relationship with the reality of what I call like freedom fighting and oppression in daily living and creating, you know, where you said, I'm not desensitized. I'm reactionary in this revolution, you know? And I wanted to ask you, like, so much shit is happening. You know, how do you not get desensitized, you know? And how do you stay usefully reactionary? Because, you know, the reactionary could also be like some bullshit too, you know what I mean? Like, you just reacting crazy, you know?
Well, for me, I tell you what works for me. I refuse to watch a lot of these or a lot of those videos where someone's getting assassinated over and over again. You know, like I didn't watch a lot of those in those pocket of those videos when the police or whooping someone's, you know, they just stomping on their skull.
Right.
And so, because if you keep watching it, your reaction level it goes down to like, oh, this is supposed to happen, or this is what happens when I get pulled over. And instead of being in the moment, like, you know, like, oh, okay, it's the same signs as someone put their hands on me walking to Walmart. It's like I'm going, you know, it's the same way. You have to be able to. First law of nature is freedom. Second law of nature is self-preservation. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going home, regardless, or we ain't going home. Either one of us ain't going home. That's my mind state. And then on the reactionary level, like you were speaking, the key to not being foolish in the moment is not giving motion to your emotions. You know what I'm saying? Like, think in the moment. You actually a survivor going to be able to think. Any type of you know, I said it very quickly what you're going to do now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I see that. I definitely see that. You know what I mean? And, you know, I had said before the name titles, one of the things I love about the fashion, you know, and by the way, like, you know, we don't have Elo Kush in the studio, but if you just go to, you know, you don't need me to tell you, but if you go to his Instagram, you'll see Elo Kush is, you know what I'm saying? And maybe I have more legitimacy. I'm allowed to say it because I'm a low life, you know what I mean? I'm low life. But Elo Kush's fashion is top notch, you know what I'm saying? And the styles, wearing clothes, the way he puts them on, the colors, the Wallaby game really, literally, actually is that fucking fresh. You know what I mean? It's as fresh as it
Okay.
sounds, you know what I mean? And even the song titles, when I read the song titles, I was like, oh shit, Carhartt Olive Camo. And I was like, yeah, that's dope. Like, you know, you just envision like, yo, that shit looks fly. Yeah, the Carhartt. Yeah, I'm envisioning the colors, the schemes, all of that. And it's just fun. But you have this way, and this is for the listener, not really for you. You know, when Elo Kush rhymes, he has this way of showing humanity in the space of a bar. You know what I mean? And he'll say stuff like, we the free will thinkers, I feel invincible when I write verses and get a chill when I drive by and see hearses. You know, it's that duality of life, you know what I'm saying? That duality of life. And that part where his he's creating, giving life to things, but then also seeing death around him, you know what I mean? And it's just some profound lines. They really stick when you hear this album more and more. And you get past all the wonderful samples and the addiction of the sampling and the beats, you know what I mean? It really is great stuff, you know what I mean? The flows, like the way you started Wu-Tang Wallabies with the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, at it's such a slow tempo. Very few people could do that at such a slow tempo, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know who could do it like that and still give it rhythm at such a slow tempo. So it's really great stuff, you know, great stuff.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. Shout out to Preem, man, because Preem is he's, you know, that's my partner right there, and he had a lot to do with the painting of the names, you know, like
right.
We wouldn't go back and forth too much on the names, but he'd be like, yo, this is this. I was like, oh, that's it, yeah, let's do that. And then, but it made sense.
Yeah.
So I did it.
I mean, these song titles are crazy. The creep rubber soul, gummy gods, cheetah print. I mean, these fucking names are crazy. You know what I mean? Fucking ill. You know what I mean? I've always loved good names on songs. You know what I'm saying? It makes it fun. You know what I'm saying? It makes it fun. And you know, songs like Todd Snyder Clark's, though, they really show the intimacy of which you talk to women. You know, I noticed that a lot of the records, and we'll go into them in detail with the other two albums, there's a lot of pledging, you know what I'm saying? Like, where you intend now to do the right thing, you know what I'm saying? Even in this song,
right.
You compared yourself as far as the womanizing aspect to the great David Ruffin, you know what I'm saying? And let's change the narrative with my superior thought, you know what I mean? And then you went into that. And I just think that a lot of songs about women aren't really written as well as this, you know what I mean? I related to a lot of it. Not that I'm Elo Kush macking, you know what I mean? But this idea of how we deal with women, it always evolves, it always changes, we always learn more, you know what I'm saying? And it's an intriguing thought. Like, it's not static, is what I get when I listen to Elo Kush. It's not like, okay, we've dealt with women, so they'll always be the same. That's not really true. They're living beings. They change, they adapt too. And it's an intrigue. It's always an intrigue, you know, and a wonderful intrigue, because women are beautiful, you know what I'm saying? And I always get that when I hear your music and stuff, and it really comes across in Todd Snyder Clark's, you know what I mean? And also, I wanted to make a note and use you as a tool, Elo Kush, a positive tool, because you said a line on Gummy Gods. You said, you hear my dialect and diction. That's a combo between the 5% and Nubian mixture. You know what I mean? I had a student, right? And we were listening to the Elo Kush 2021 catalog, you know what I mean? And he was telling me, he was like, yo, you know, what is he? And I said, you know what? Word is bond. This is what I said. This is what I said, Elo. I say, he's not in our nation like the way we are. You know what I'm saying? Like, where we say, look, we're 5%. We went under the study. We say that we're the true and living gods. Like, the way I am, I'm nothing but that, because I'm at the school. If you come to get the knowledge of self, that I'm who you're seeing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely.
You gonna bump heads with me. I'm
class.
You know, it's either me or you don't want to learn with me, then you go learn with somebody else. But I'm one of your options when you come to get the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And I told the God, I said, but I see him as the true and living God, because when I got knowledge of self, I was out there teaching near immediately, and we was in Mecca, and a lot of the Nubians there, and this is not just the Nubians really. This is something that has plagued many of the spiritualities that go through Mecca, Harlem, and is that they do themselves a disservice by vying for a position. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
And they manipulate their own doctrines, their own ideas. You know what I'm saying? And so my experience is different. Like, we were seeing pamphlets where they were saying Allah the Father didn't exist. They were morphing his face and saying the Father was really fard and making no sense at all. And then we would have Nubians say stuff about us, and, you know, it would be battles, you know, and I'm going to keep it like that, right? Elam, keep it like that, right?
Right.
Battles.
Right.
I'm just going to say that.
Real.
You know what I mean?
Real.
And, but I also have lots of students that never knew that, never spent as much time at a law school in Mecca like me, or in Harlem like that, or in Mecca. And
Or walking the pavement.
Right,
traveling
right.
the land. Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the books of York's books and the things that he shared, whether they have, to me, they have things that can't be proven or a little bit manipulations. They have a lot of stuff that led people to knowledge of themselves. And what I mean by knowledge of self is that the black man is God. And then finding out who the black man is, the black, brown, and yellow seed. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
this is why I say people like you, and I make it clear that I address people like Elo Kush, a rare breed. It's rare breed. You know what I'm saying? You could talk all you regular Joe can talk all that Nubian shit, and I'm not gonna bear witness to you. But knowing Elo Kush and his integrity, the works he puts out, and the insights, the knowledge, that's the God. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I see it. And I just wanted to make that known, because a lot of people don't, we come from all these different vantage points of how we get the knowledge. People don't understand that the black man is struggling to get a knowledge of self. It ain't no one stop and shop where you go in and you get your knowledge of self. Nah, it's a fucking journey through hell.
Many rooms in my father's mansion. We're in that basic level seeing it. You know what I'm saying? There's different thought schools you have to travel. And even saying, even traveling past the Nawapian thought school, you know what I'm saying? Even traveling through different thought schools, whatever it is, I absorb knowledge, and I'm addicted to it. So it's like I'm an addict for it. So whatever thought school I'm in, making sure that I can find authenticity in some form. So to have one label, or just to be like I see it sort of like what you do with the martial arts, Lord. Like you have to learn different styles, but in order to learn styles, you got to sit with the master for a little bit. One of the masters, you may not get everything the master taught. You know what I'm saying? But you get enough to travel to the next thought school and be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this school is Tiger Crane. Let me show you what I learned in the drunken master style, or praying master style over here. You know what I'm saying? But it's still a learning vessel.
Right. I definitely see that. And it comes across in the music, you know what I mean? And, just to close out, I've said it before, this is one of the best albums of the year, Clark Connoisseurs 2. And it plays really, really great back to back with the Clark Connoisseurs, the first, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It just does, you know what I'm saying? It really does. And they both sound totally different. They're very different. In sound too, you know what I mean? The subtleties are there. But, let's talk about this other great work, The Law of Least Effort, you know what I'm saying? And it's produced by Raz Beats. I thought I love this. When I was thinking about this, I was like, yo, this is an album that is introducing an ideology of creation, the creation process.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's profound. And the more I listened to it, the more I was in disbelief. Elo, I was like, no way that you got some of these rhymes with the minimalism that the least effort law is subscribing to. I was like, nah, it's some bullshit. Because I was like, yo, these bars is fucking, they look like they're so well thought out. You know what I'm saying? I was like, no fucking way. But this is what I mean. Like, the time that you have spent making these records over the last maybe 2-3 years from 2018, 19, 20, and into now, these records are reaching a prime, and it's really a record that grows more and more as you listen to it. But you have it on the intro, and I wanted to get your explanation, deeper thoughts on what you explained already on that intro, the law of least effort intro, about this ideology of minimalism and efficiency, and just like really literally the organic feel of just making what comes or what you write. Like how does it work?
For me, can you hear me clear? Am I still clear?
Indeed, you're good.
Okay, so for me, the creative process was also during the pandemic. This was totally in the pandemic. So on maybe 2 or 3 songs, I was going back and forth to Brooklyn, meeting up with Ross Beats, like on the Queens Brooklyn borderline, and we were creating this project. And one of the things I didn't want to do with the project was to overthink or redo anything, because when I was creating this, I was actually going like watching a lot of different jazz documentaries. I was actually watching something about Lee Morgan.
Oh, good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was speaking about, one of the things he was speaking about was the ability to not have it too polished. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if a note came out a little high, you wouldn't redo the whole song over. Or if they were just freestyling in the studio with the jam session and they recorded it, it wasn't a skeleton. That was the session. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was also at the same time reading the book by Deepak Chopra, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, when I wrote this album. Okay. This is like the 5th time I read the book, but this time I was reading it because I was going through something, transition. And I just poured it all into the music. I poured it all into the idealism of the music, and not so every verse that you hear was one take. Wasn't, every verse you hear, there wasn't no like, okay, let me do this over, or I didn't like the way that word came out. You'll hear it in some of the joints. If I remember, if I could pinpoint one joint, I don't remember exactly. But like I know I said something not the way I would say it if I had to do it over again.
But you left it in there anyway.
Of it. Yeah, I left it purposely. So I gained more by doing less, if that makes sense to you. Like, so I did 4 songs instead of doing 2 songs because I had to do the songs over or edit something, or, it just, the process was just real, it was majestic for me. Mm-hmm. I followed the guideline.
The record really, really works. You know what I'm saying? And my duty is the crowd. Open the closed-minded individual. Give all my light and build. Master of miles of literature must get read. Therefore, down the path of technology I can't be led. You know what's interesting is that the way that you flow with a tempo that masters that slow tempo in the pocket, you're able to say things in a reverse fashion. So like the path of technology I can't be led. Like it works that way because you could say it like reversed. You said it reversed. You know what I mean? Like most people will speak. They wouldn't speak. Yeah, and it just lends itself to a really intriguing. It lets it sound like an aphorism. It gives the words more beauty. You know what I'm saying? And more effect. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I bug out. I was like, wow, this is a lot of the way I would write, and I would restructure things to get it that way, as opposed to just getting it out there on top. And it's just really great stuff. You know what I mean? And that song is Wizardry, and it's got the good Deepak Chopra sample at the end as well that really goes with the concept. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And also too, I noticed this in a lot of the works this year. Like most artists, they kind of rhyme like they're already well made, or if they're suffering, it has nothing to do with making the music. They're extremely successful at the music, and all their struggles are born out of other things. But you put that reality of being an artist front and center. You know what I mean? Whether you talk about like the protocols of getting that money before the show, like in Doogie's Part 5, where you talk about courting these different investors. They know we're a gold mine, but on the flip side, I'm a landmine who's also anti-swine. You talk about this path, and when you say the path that I took with no regrets, yeah, it's rough in the lightning, but I wouldn't change a thing. A lot of that I took as also being an artist and making certain decisions of what to say, what not to say. You know what I mean? And I'll put it out there. I would say, Elo, and I know like a brother like you isn't going to be like, you know, pointing this out and stuff, but I know, and I know the way things go. I know that there must have been a lot of opportunities as a MC, as a rapper. I'm going to use a worse word, as a rapper, but don't happen because you won't say certain things or that you do say certain things. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Right on. That's the exact explanation that comes from that line.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from that line, like of being in those meetings.
Yeah.
Being in those meetings and oh well, what would you think about saying this? Or maybe you said it like this. Or maybe make a song about like, you know, nah, I'm a landmine, I'm gonna explode. Hell no, I can't. I don't even know. Like, you know, you asking me to eat pork. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do it. I just can't.
Right.
I have to stay true to my actual artistry. And sometimes I don't even know that. Like, I'm on autopilot with that. It's not like I act. It's just my way of life and principle. So when you ask me a certain question about, you know, not you per se, but like in his meeting, or can you maybe we should, you know, do it over this beat and you should say this, and dangling some money in front of me, like, nah, man, integrity is the key, Lord. You know what I mean? And I have to stay so parallel to that. I can't change. I would think, like, you know, you hear these different artists speaking about who they're influenced by, but they sound nothing like their influencer. So you have a singer that might say, oh, Marvin Gaye's my favorite singer, but then you hear him singing about debauchery all day. Like, none of their songs is about anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have no real subject value. Well, that's how I am. On the degree, I'm the total opposite of that. Like, my influences are Tragedy and Wise Intelligent and Brother J and KRS-One and, you know, a lot of different brothers, but I don't sound nothing like them, but you can definitely hear their influence all through my music.
I see that. And that's a good point. You know what I mean? And you know, because when I listen to your music, I definitely see like, yo, other guys wouldn't. There's a lot of guys that are hardcore and they feel this way, but they would never say that. You know what I'm saying? And you're one of the few that when I go through this, they would never, you know, they never say that about the grafted man. You know what I mean? They wouldn't say that. You know what I mean? They wouldn't say this, or they would keep it to themselves, or make it generic. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, bro.
You know what I mean? And I tell you though, it's for me. I can't, in this case, I can't speak to everyone else though. I can document it and say that it is absolutely unique now. But for me personally, it's fucking refreshing. You know what I'm saying? It's fucking refreshing because in these times, though, everybody loves the revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? But they don't steep in any of the waters of the revolution. Any of the waters. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like the way we look at social media, you know? Like, I'll share things. Like a lot of people know about my pin puncture series. For those that got punctured and for those that don't, to read up about it. And when I looked, all of the resources I'm giving, like the books and materials, if people email me, I give it to them. But a lot more people salute. And very few of those people that salute actually ask for the materials. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, it says a lot, you know, and it comes off in the music, you know what I mean? One of the unfortunate things, I think in this era too, you know, if I call it the invisible renaissance and stuff, one of those great veils, I think, is our own self-censorship. We know what sells already. We don't need them to tell us what sells, and we do it to ourselves. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We self-censor ourselves, you know what I mean? And I think that's a big problem. And through these records, there's none, you know, perseverance, purpose. You know what I mean? When my loved ones be in the slumber, I summons thunder. I'm just a boy in the hood that grew up to be furious, striving for change inside this hell. You know what I mean? You know, this is the development, you know what I'm saying? Free will. You said a bunch of suckers we all are because we log on to the worldwide central arm. Go to elokush.com, cop a book or CD, check my tour dates, watch a video, join a mailing list. Every week I give away a book for free. I love that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, when we lost you on air, I mentioned the elokush.com, but I wanted you to talk about that, you know, and talk about like a lot of the things you do actually have like a pairing, you know, with actual revolutionary, you know, thinking and the education process that goes. And a lot of people forget, like, people took that shit to be a lane and they're like, oh, well, you know, Immortal Technique does that. Salute to my brother, Immortal Technique. You know what I mean? You know, he'll teach you off outside the booth. You know what I mean? I just write and say cool shit. You know what I mean? But this is really, really dope. You know what I mean? And the things that you've done, there's records there. There's books, your own book. There's book recommendations. You know what I mean? It's just a whole way of thinking so people can understand, like, where does Elo Kush get this way of thinking from? You know what I mean? In the introductory reality. Because a lot of the way of thinking that you or I may have can be learned by reading, but it also needs that study out there in the streets. You know what I mean?
You gotta live it. You gotta live it. You gotta walk it.
You know what I'm saying? But it is a great start to go to elokush.com, and I just wanted to pinpoint that, you know, and you said that in Free Will, and it was it was great stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Marketing 101, God. That's marketing 101. Make sure they go to the real estate.
Actual fact.
That is my record label. That is where they can get all the music from.
That's right. And like I said, these records are at a peak right now. Martyrs, I wanted to ask you, because you said on Martyrs, right? You said I got a strong disdain when speaking of reparations. But I wanted to know, what are your thoughts about reparations? Because, you know, for you who's independent-minded, I could see that the negativity of asking them to give us stuff back. But at the same time, though, you know, the original man here, especially those who were directly enslaved by the United States, they certainly merit reparations, you know, absolutely, without, you know, even a second thought. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that line came from having a conversation with a colleague of mine when we were speaking about the whole idea of what is reparations for? What is reparations for our people? And I feel I get pissed off to a degree where it's like, yo, man, all right, so the Israelis and the different Jewish community people, and that they get money every year from America, the United States, rather, not America, the United States of America.
Right.
And there's different people who get this money allocated to them, but we have, because of their Holocaust. And I'm not downplaying their Holocaust at all, but our Holocaust, you know, it's now still. But it's just in the mental aspect of it. So I'm like, yo, if we talking reparations, man, we got, you know, all the culture itself. The culture itself is us, correct? The culture is us. So everything they do on TV, everything, these commercials, you hear these hip hop jingles, you see the way they're dressing. We need a chunky percentage of all that. So if you're just talking about a couple million and that's it, or the welfare situation like they did before, that it has to go beyond that. So I was talking about just the basic levels of reparation conversation. I was trying to push the envelope to where it needs to be. Education needs to be free for all the melanated people. Mm-hmm. Whether you can trace your lineage back to being enslaved or not, it needs to be a whole conversation just beyond money. It needs to be about land ownership, because we was fucked out of the GI Bill, the home ownership bill, like even in Queens when they had all that land out there, and even in Jersey and different places where land was allocated for the Homestead Act for certain people. We didn't get that. We got 1% of that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking about, reparations. That whole conversation has to change. Right. And it can't be with those older devils, you know what I'm saying? Like, it It's no asking. It's not requesting. It's requiring. You know, that's what I meant by that.
No, that's peace.
I just compress it into that one line. You know what I mean?
Indeed. Yeah, yeah. And I agree. I see it definitely, and I'll leave it at that because that's well said, and that's it. You know, that's what it is. You know what I mean? And what a way to end the album, because when you ended it on Roadie, you said stuff that is the whole entire build. Like, you said strategize and accomplish what you doubted, and then later you ended the verse and literally the entire album with I gotta see it, say it, and do it with the written.
Down plan. I remain congruent.
With the written own plan, right? I remain congruent, and it was just a great way to end the album. You know what I mean? And you know what's crazy is I think it's almost like this album and its ideology is like a new way of making music. You know what I'm saying? A new way of making music. Mm-hmm. Where you openly acknowledge that, you know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of artists that are great now that are doing it this way, but they haven't overtly detailed it. Like, they haven't said that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think it's so dope that you articulated that. It's very profound that you articulated that. You know what I'm saying? I think it's genius. I think it's genius.
Thank you, brother. You put me through a time portal. I forgot about some of these lines. As an artist, I create and I hang it on the wall and I keep diddy bopping. You know what I mean?
I hear, yeah. I mean, that's the work here. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do here. And it's a concentrated effort. You get the bonus if you get it on Bandcamp. You get the instrumentals. So it's really a great work. You know what I mean? Salute to Raz Beats, because that shit was good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Raz Beats, that's my man right there. Queens in the building.
Indeed. And then we have, you know, the third record, the third and last record you've released so far this year, right, was Live from the Whirlwind, right? With Clipto, you know, on the production. Great. Again, you know, I can't say enough about what the kid samples. It's fucking fire. His sample game is strong. On this album, I felt like he didn't have to rely on just the beauty of the vocal sample. He was going into strong musical stuff too, so he was showing some more of the utility belt. You know what I'm saying? And I felt, if I could describe this record, I felt like this is like serves as a ELO Kush manifesto. There are so many songs here that just detail what you're about. Like, if I could start somebody that's never heard you, I probably would throw them this album, and just because it shows everything you're about. You know what I mean? This whole revolutionary warrior reality. You know what I mean? The fly fashions, the stylings, the battle raps, you know, all of that. And it really is a great work, you know, and it's only a half hour. It's crazy that it's that short. But when you called it Live from the Whirlwind, what's the whirlwind?
Life as we see it right now. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts. Well, for me, my thoughts right now, where I'm at in my life, and that's why this album, this particular project is, it's so close to me, because it's actually capturing close to how I really feel in the moment. I'm not too far from this one. It's like, you know, the whirlwind to me is not accepting the ideals of another person trying to project their doubts and their faults on you, versus you finding your own path, standing on your own too, separating from your crew, separating from your woman, separating from your family, and really going on the land. Like you were just talking about, like how you used to have to walk through Mecca, and you might catch a strong bill. You have that book that's not in Barnes and Nobles anyway. That book that you had to walk through the land, and before you purchased that book, you was in the whirlwind because some brothers are asking you questions about that book. Or what do you stand on? What is your, you know, what is your true principle here? What's your principle for even trying to get this type of book? Why do you want it? And that's how the whirlwind is for me. Like, yo, it's no strength. It's no like overthinking. It's just like, yo, I'm right in the middle of everything that's happening in life, period. For me,
I think one of the most hard-hitting songs I've heard all year, and I preface this to the listeners, like when you're listening to my show or you're listening to my works, I've already heard at least, and I have at least 300 albums of hip hop this year. You know what I'm saying? So when I go through them all, I go through them all. So if I say that a record is powerful, it's in the context of all that. You know what I'm saying? I've heard all of it. You know what I mean? If I didn't hear your record, well, try harder. You know what I'm saying? But
get your dogs up.
but this song Gaia, right? I wanted to know why you named it that, but I just want to. There's so much to quote here. You said, "Well, I want to know why you named it that," but literally when you said "no more time to sugarcoat nothing," boy, yeah, fuck. You know what I'm saying? What a warning. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What a warning.
Right.
But tell us before I go into some of the lyrics here. Why'd you name it that? You know, I could go into the detail of the Greek goddess, but I wanted to know why you named it that. You know what I mean?
It felt like when we called the guy, I think Clifton named that one actually. But it felt like it was like the sample felt like it was apocalyptic, like the earth was on fire. Like it was like it was singing to me. Like I heard the beat, but I heard the sample. That triggered something in my head that put me like in like this shit is over. Like it's like things are burning down. I don't know if I was seeing something or reading something, because sometimes I go through different thoughts, pockets of thought. But I went with that song. Clifton named that actually. He actually named that because the name of the beat was Gaia. That's what it was called. And I wrote off of that. So I just took it to the deep Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines mind state.
You know, it's a powerful insight against just white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? And all those that really further this white mentality, you know, because we do live in times where everybody will yell out, "Oh, it's white supremacy," and then the people, and a lot of times, you know, we're talking about whites, they'll be racist right in front of you, but white supremacy is some other guy, you know. So they made white supremacy a mystery god. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not me. It's this white supremacy, but you the one that's doing the shit. You know what I mean? Your mentality, the way you speak, the way you act. And you said, no, stop negotiating.
The sense of entitlement. The sense of entitlement. Like things are just supposed to be like that. You know, that's definitely supremacy on that.
Absolutely.
But I don't subscribe to none of that shit. None of that is supreme over me. That's just like a fair one. Like you gotta prove that. You know what I'm saying? You got to prove that right now. Like we got to dance for a little bit.
And you know, it's funny because in this hip hop shit, right? The white artists in hip hop are the ones that are really supposed to be blatantly against white supremacy. Like this should be part of the lyrics. And there's only a few brothers that I say are white that are really like brothers. You know what I mean? Very few. You know what I'm saying? And everybody like. I don't, just like, you know, to me, deep down, the black man rhyming with real insight and knowledge better start using that and sharing that. Or he's much more worthless. But to me, it's almost a requisite that I think that the majority, if not all white people that rap should have some insights that they share on record against white supremacy, because culture is for everybody. But this is a culture that we made. This is a culture that we made with a specific mentality. You know, like we didn't make this culture like a lot of our cultures are really like, they're basically dance based. You know what I mean? They're fun based. And when deeper lyrics got into them, like salsa or stuff like that, well, it just happens. It just happened to fall in there where you get deeper lyricism. But this hip hop was deliberately made as a form of rebellion.
Absolutely.
And it's just fucking appalling to think that I find it a joke, and I say it outright. I find it something is grossly missing, and it is not the same a white guy that just has great skills and rhymes about battle bars all day. It's not the same. It's not the fucking same. You know what I'm saying? Because you could do that you could do that with rock music. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You could do that with rock music. You could do that with other things. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny. I say rock music because I think, this is my thought, and I could back it up. I think that rock music is the only music that whites took from us and did something different with it. They do.
Right.
A lot of whites do hip hop great. A lot of whites do hip hop whack. But they didn't really do something different with it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas if we listen to rock music, we'll hear stuff that like, yo, we wouldn't have gone there. We wouldn't have done all that crazy like smashing. We wouldn't have done that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And
I agree totally.
it's a different dichotomy. But when in Gaia, stop negotiating with those that lack civility. They're killing us through food, music, and program demonic frequencies that come through radio and TV. You don't hear lyrics like this anymore. You said, I got melanin. You don't. It's Elo's totally offensive here. You know what I'm saying? Like cancel culture is like screaming at your door right now. They're knocking. And you said there's no level of scheming and deception that you won't stoop to. I'm the spook who sat by the door with a shotgun and a Mac knowledge. And then you said this. I wanted to ask you about this. You said I graduated from the College of Google and YouTube University. You know, a lot of people take this as like, that's not real study and shit like that. What did you mean by that? And how is that valid? You know what I mean?
To me, in that moment, that's another pocket right there. I was having a discussion, the same thing that you're saying. I was having a discussion with my son and was telling him about research. How if we wanted a certain book, we had to either on a train or a car and go to New York and go to and get that book. You know what I'm saying? Like we had to find that book. Whereas they actually got the whole university in the palm of their hand right now, a whole college in the palm of their hand, where they don't have to do the research as we did. That doesn't mean that it's invalid or valid, but the accessibility of it is instantaneous versus having to go travel to get the book, read it, come home, study it, put the yellow marker, outline it, research that word that you highlighted. You know what I'm saying? Like this, and then they just like boom, boom, boom. So I'm saying that I graduated past those things in my previous work. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed. I definitely see that, you know, and then you kept on and you said, you know, what I found interesting is that you said a lot of stuff that people would often say years ago. And I'm instead of giving somebody that this was on some bullshit, but throughout the dark ages, to me, I consider the 2000s dark ages. Media became pop. You know what I mean? A lot of bullshit got the limelight. A lot of average stuff got serenaded as the greatest. And a lot of great artists didn't get to graduate, you know, from the underground into the mainstream that they deserve to. You know what I'm saying? And one of those guys that I think of was Hellraiser. You know what I mean? My brother Hellraiser.
My brother.
And I always root for Hellraiser. What a great man. And you
gotta hear the joints we got together. Man.
Oh man, Hellraiser made some of the greatest albums in the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? And he talked a lot about these ideas. And when you said they thrive on AI and biochemical sorcery plus germ warfare, they're cloning you with a strand of your hair. You know, now when we look at simple documents that they share, simple books and literature and scientific journals that they share about transhumanism. You know what I'm saying? The connections with these vaccines and transhumanism. You know, the mandates, the patents on these vaccines, all of these things can be easily looked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And when you're saying them now, you know, I don't know. I wonder how people will catch it because I'm like, yo, this is it. This is it. It's literally now. It's not like a future where like Hellraiser was saying it's coming. Like, yeah, whatever, biochips, whatever, da-da-da. Now they talk about that stuff. Now people are like, yo, I have a biochip. I decided to get one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're saying, you know, when you say they're cloning you with a strand of hair, I'm very aware of the extinction agenda from these Dr. Mind Benders. You know what I mean? And this is really what it is. You know what I'm saying? This is really what it is. And it's such a powerful song to lead off an album because if you can't make it through that song, well, at least you got shot off quickly off this album. If it was too intense for you. You know what I mean? And it's just powerful. Yeah, you know, and one thing about Elo Kush that I love is that it doesn't lose any of the artistry. It never sounds preachy. It never sounds corny. You know what I'm saying? Never loses its flow or its rhythm. You know what I mean? And the songs keep going. You know what I'm saying? Another question I had for you, though. street corner perspective, right? And one of the questions that popped out listening to this song was, how do we go beyond imitation of what we see around us? You know what I'm saying? Because there was such a thing where you were talking about like seeing these things around us and we were imitating those things and we were just becoming products of our environment, see negativity, live negativity. So where is that moment where you could get out? What has to be done or what could be done? Because in many ways we did it and you did it.
Yes, absolutely. I think what I teach when I come around or I try to teach even through sonically is like, yo, find and know thyself. Don't be duck goose. Don't be scared to stand out, man. Like don't be scared to say no. Don't be scared to say, nah, that's not for me. You got to find the courage within self. You got to tap into that unknown reservoir of knowledge within yourself and identifying with stuff. That's where I found it within me. Mm-hmm. The best way to break it down is because a lot of listeners are. The best way to break it down is Trey in the back of the car on Boys in the Hood. Right? When they driving, Ice Cube's driving, Monster, and Trey's in the back seat, he's like, pull over, let me out. Ice Cube looking at him. He's like, let me out. Yo, don't let me out. And that's when he found the moment, like, yo, I'm not a killer. This ain't for me. We close as hell. They just killed your brother. That's my dog, everything, but I'm not a murderer. And that's the moment, that's like the key moment. You got to know when to know thyself all the time, but you definitely got to know thyself when it's something that isn't productive to your way of life. And it's hard. And it's not always easy. I've definitely been on both sides of the court.
I definitely see that. I appreciate that build. And other songs like High Science, they kind of add, I felt like High Science was like an addendum to, the law of least effort. When you said practice detachment from all so that I will truly gain. Articulation is the key in the art form, because the way that you got these songs out so easily is because you're so comfortable with articulating your own ideas, you know what I mean? And I think that's something that is the practice of emceeing, and it's the beauty of the writing and the writing and the craftsmanship of emceeing, and then there's just the declarations of Alexander Pushkin. You said, I'm aboriginal, inalienable. I keep the plight of my people tucked inside of my mind's journal. F these civil rights. My birthright, sun, moon, and star. Address me as Gamar Oz Dubois. That's the tough stuff. And no need to elaborate, Elo. I just wanted to quote the tough stuff. You know what I mean? And
I appreciate you, God.
Oh man, that's sing-along stuff for me. You know what I mean? I want to karaoke these things. You know what I'm saying? And
even the name, Alexander Pushkin. I wanted them to like, who the hell is he talking about?
That's right. You know what I mean? And with the sample in the beginning, detailing it, it just really was, eye-opening. And what I was talking about, I felt this year with these records you released, you had such a great way of speaking about women, and I thought the peak of it was Laws of Karma, And you said, I ain't keep it 100 either one, so both I lost. If I want to change, then first it got to come from me. Heartbroke thinking, damn, how could I do that to see? Pussy magnet, I hate that it's easy for me. Now my head is on a swivel because I know karma's coming. I thought these lyrics were really profound, and it's a consistent theme with you this year in the records, you know what I mean? And it's this idea that the way that you treat people affects the way that you'll be treated because you have blind spots, and they've been exposed. Yeah. And, it's intriguing. Yeah. It's intriguing. I definitely thought a lot about that song, you know what I'm saying? And I just thought that a lot of guys haven't really written great songs about females in different ways, in the relationships with women. And I definitely thought that the works you released this year on that was stellar. You know what I mean? They had such good thought processes, you know what I mean? They were diverse, real thought-provoking, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. I tried to do that. I tried to push the envelope in a different way.
Indeed. And then these next two songs, I felt these, again, along with the first track and other songs, but like the first song, Gaia, and then The Reason, and then, of course, the next one, Survivor's Jurisdiction. But The Reason, these are why I considered this album a manifesto, because to have that song come after The Laws of Karma, and then you talk about the mentality of relationships as an artist, creative, black man, progressive, revolutionary artist, because that's what I think of when I'm listening to you. This is the journey of insight of the experiences of that type of individual. You know what I mean? And The Reason really captures that. And again, just 2 minutes, a little less than 3 minutes, and it's all detailed in there. You know, these are great songs. It's just a powerful stuff. But I wanted to talk specifically about what I thought was like the shining moment in the album, if I could even pick one, was Survivor's Jurisdiction. You know what I mean? I thought the whole album had insights, but I felt like everything you're about was epitomized in the song. And even the song title, it's hard to put my mind wrapped around the title of the song, Survivor's Jurisdiction. You know, like there's a field of allowed operation that a survivor has. Like, explain this to me, because this is a profound, intriguing title itself.
Survivor's Jurisdiction is for those who got scars, who've been through some things and pick themselves up, whether it's death, relationship, loss of job, whatever. That's my mentality, consistent with the mind state I was raised with. You know, we survivors. You're gonna go through some things. Survivors are gonna be one to tell the story, and that was my mind state in writing that song. When I heard the beat, when Clifton sent me the beat, I was in the place. That's why this album is like, I hope it transcends to the listener as raw, as live from the world, with a lot of my true feeling and my true way of living was poured into these songs. So, you know, we just lost one of the mothers in the family. You know, I was going through some stuff in my mind, and I just poured it out. And I survived that. And so from creating that song, I was, again, still showing and proving I'm still in survivor's jurisdiction. None of that shit broke. All those things I was talking about, none of that broke. I learned from all those, but it didn't break.
Absolutely. Very powerful, Elo. Some of the lines. Are you still on the line, Elo? We lost
I'm here, Lord. I'm with you.
That's peace. You know, when you had that line, every word I write, and it kind of comes in as like a chorus and really acts more like a bridge, where you said every word I write is a testament to the experience that I've had. Wish I could have seen the cold face of my old dad, plus my other loved ones that ain't coming back, plus my other loved ones that ain't fucking coming back. It's just very powerful. Very powerful. And it's like the effects of oppression. A lot of times we don't talk about the effects of oppression, just more like the anger that we're gonna have at the, you know, I don't know, the white man. We're gonna do this to the cops. You know what I mean? A lot of fantastical shit. That's cool. That's dope. We need to let loose that. But there's so much depth in this. It's just a powerful song. You know what I'm saying? And for you listeners that go and check this, it's a song to hear a couple of times to see the effect of it. You know what I mean? And I thought it was, you know, when I talk about songs, I don't think we put enough emphasis on the performance of the song. And I thought that the tempo you had and the emphasis, you know, because you rhyme slower and there's a special inflection that you use on certain things, you know, a certain pacing, certain pausing and silencing. And it's to great effect. The performance of this song was to me brilliant. You know what I mean? And I definitely salute you on that. It was just great. Let's see if we get Elo Kush. We may have lost him right there. You know, as we close down on this episode. Right there, we was on the last track. The near the last track, Survivor's Jurisdiction, is the next to last track, and it's one of the best songs. that I've really heard from Elo Kush. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And let's see if we get the God back. All right, still getting. But all these albums, again, I said you can get them on Elo Kush, ELOHKUSH.
Please leave your message for 7.
Let's see if we get him back. We'll get Elo Kush back so we can close out this episode. Great insights from a great MC and really one of the stellar MCs of this era. You know what I mean? Go back to the previous episode, the Power Right Show, where we talked about him, when we talked about his work with Buddha Monk. You know what I mean? More about his origins and his beginnings. You know, as opposed to today, where we've really focused on his 2021 output.
Please leave your message for
of these 3 albums. You know what I mean? But
also, if they're busy, please.
All right. All right. But you know, I consider there's a lot of guys, you know, when I go on when I go on Twitter and I don't really declare people MC of the year or, you know, that MVP shit. It's because I have my own idea on who, but I like to give credit to everyone that I think had a great year, you know, and who's MC of the year candidates or had an incredible year. Now we're in an era where the great MCs are often, really only with the exception of a rare few, the best MCs of each year now are releasing multiple projects. You know what I mean? So to understand them isn't to have one album. To understand them is to listen to the multiple works, get an idea of what they're doing, and really catch some idea of it. You know what I mean? And, you know, certainly Elo Kush, I think, has so much more to say, so many much more ways to do it. And I think 2021 is probably his best year emceeing, you know, absolutely. You know, I'm trying to get the God back. I let him know that we're calling him back. Some of these albums are on Bandcamp. The Law of Least Effort is on Bandcamp, and I think you can get the instrumentals on the Bandcamp. I don't know if they're on the Elo Kush website to get the instrumentals, you know. I would love to see instrumentals of all these works, especially the Clark Connoisseurs, you know, too. Right? And remember, that's a duo, you know, who I think is both had candidate of the year, you know, candidates of the year, you know what I mean? They're MC of the year candidates. And Supreme Cerebral adding on with the Dirty Diggs album he did, and then also with his album with Recognize Real. It seems like the same players are producing incredible albums, you know? So all these great MCs, they seem to be making a great album with Dirty Diggs, Recognize Real. Now Clipto's getting in the conversation, you know, and then with others like Yellow Point and others, you know what I mean? Right? Let's see if we can get the God. Apparently we may have lost the connection though. All right, let's see if we can try again. All right. One more time, and then we're just gonna close out. You know what I mean? We've asked Elo Kush all about his albums. We'll summarize them. Yeah, you know, one of the interesting things about making these records though is also the length. You know what I mean? We expected that albums that would be this short wouldn't have the depth that you would have. You know what I mean? And with that said, let's close out this show. You know what I'm saying? I'll get back to the God Elo Kush. You know what I mean? And until the next time, there'll be a lot more stories to tell, writings to recite, and records to rewind and reminisce. For my guest, the God Elo Kush, a revolutionary creative artist whose works are freedom scores and manifestos. Go to elokush.com to get all the records that we talked about this year. Clark Connoisseurs 2, The Law of Least Effort, and live from the whirlwind, all stellar works. You know what I mean? And I'm your host, Sunya Zala, a.k.a. Skillustrator Low. And as always, the Power Right Show is a never respect fake broadcast. Peace.